Why the hell am I doing a video on a Sunday? Well, this week could be a week to remember.
Oh, here we go again.
If you're just interested in why I'm predicting 82 to 84,000 to be the bottom for Bitcoin before we run up to Valhalla, feel free to skip ahead in the chapters below.
Bye, have a great time.
But to my 600 and something loyal subscribers, I do want to go over my system because I've completely overhauled it. It's so much easier to understand not only what I'm doing, but what you should be thinking about. And I didn't want to wait till Friday, which is when I usually do my weekly Bitcoin macro war room breakdown, because this might be an important week. We are at a crossroads. We are heading towards the end of the month. December is going to start in a few weeks. And this is really the pivot point where you need to lock in.
Enemy spotted.
Because this could be the last and final capitulation until we get the insane bull run for 2026 once all the liquidity injections come in. Regardless, let's take a look. Again, if you want to skip ahead to the actual prediction, go ahead. But I'm going to start off with what my thesis is. Why am I still bullish?
Are you stupid or something?
Into 2026. Everyone's saying it's topped, bull market's over, pack it in. Well, you can see here the ISM has been under 50 for the longest stretch since it's started recording. No bull market for crypto, now there's only been 4 of them, has ever peaked with the ISM below 50. We have been constrained. Liquidity has been tight, especially US liquidity. They're now just starting to cut. There's going to be a new Fed chair. There's going to be a ton of liquidity positive events, but those aren't going to hit until mid-December, early January, and then it's going to take time to get through the system. So I think if you're still bullish on Bitcoin like I am, this is the time to really get focused and stay sharp, because this could be the last chance coming up here soon.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
This chart is nice, it's cool, but this one's even better because this is a composite of both the ISM and the DXY, the dollar, here on the bottom. And you can see the teal line is kind of where you really start to see some outperformance in crypto. Once we get above here, we are still not close. We're inching up in the right direction, but we're just not there yet. That's my thesis. That's why I'm still bullish into 2026. Let's take a look at the revamped system, and then we'll get into my prediction for the bottom of this rut that we're currently in. Isn't that beautiful? Man, I've spent the last 12, 13 hours working on this on and off.
Nice job, team.
For those of you that have been following my channel, this looks very, very different. Before, we only had one score up here on the top left, one gauge that kind of flip-flopped between 0 and 100%. For this entire bull run so far, since I started doing the Bitcoin Macro War Room, this has been between 65 and 100. And what I found was it's too hard to understand via that gauge what we should actually be doing. So I split the inputs up into 3 different gauges, the most important one being this top one right here, which is the risk on, risk off gauge.
Oh my.
This is powered by paid macro research that has an incredible track record. They have a composite of a ton of things: yields, credit spreads, bonds, stocks, dollar. I mean, everything you can think of, business cycle stuff that go into this indicator. And currently we're still risk on. We are in a risk on market. And I think that will continue through 2026. Obviously, we'll see. This usually only moves risk off or has a phase transition anywhere from every 3 months to a year and a half. So we'll see what happens, but I still think that we're going to be risk on going into 2026. Now, I've taken out some of the other inputs into separate indicators here on the left. So there's a momentum and trend indicator. Again, there is one input that is paid, and the rest of them I've built myself through some of these amazing charts. So we can take a look really quick at the Rodal momentum. And if you kind of zoom in, you can see that the bottom bar is basically a binary positive or negative. And so currently we are in negative, which is why it's bearish. Same thing for LTH PVR and AVIV momentum, which we can take a look at really quick because this is a really great chart. Same thing, we are still in negative AVIV momentum. So that is a 0, and that gives us a reading of bearish. So the momentum and trend is still bearish, which is why I think we have lower to go. And I'll explain why I think 82 to 84K is the bottom here in a second. The macro weather forecast, this is an outlook indicator, meaning for the next 1 to 3 months, what can we expect in terms of price performance? And currently that is bearish.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
This can flip from week to week. So tune in on Fridays when I do my show in the morning. Regardless, I think the system is a lot more structured now. It's easier to understand sort of the different components. The last set of components that doesn't have a gauge, because I don't think it makes any sense to have a gauge, is the business cycle and liquidity section, which has my macro regime tracker, which is currently neutral, global M2, so global liquidity via M2, which is currently bullish, and the BTC and DXY inverse correlation, which is still bullish. So overall, fairly bullish still on business cycle liquidity, still risk on, but bearish on the current trend and momentum, and bearish on the 3-month forecast. Cool. With that out of the way, let's get to the prediction and probably why you're here or click the video. Drum roll, please. This is why I am bullish overall, but waiting for an entry here. And my analysis has determined that the best ultimate entry is going to be anywhere between 80,000 to 87,000. That is when I'm going to start buying super, super heavy. And there's a couple of reasons for this. First of all, there is the Elliott Wave structure. So we are in a larger uptrend. We are now currently in a correction. And as you can see that I've mapped out the waves here, we are currently in sort of the second wave correction, which has a target of 81,500. And this lines up perfectly with the liquidation maps. And I'm not talking about the 2-week liquidation maps. I am talking about the yearly liquidation maps. So if you look at the yearly liquidation maps down here, the brightest spots are basically from 80K to 84K. And the next stop, you can see the next sort of highest level of liquidations is from 90 to 93, which I think gets taken out next. Now, for my whole thesis to be invalidated, we would have to hold 90K as support and not break below into the 80s. Obviously, then I would restructure and probably start getting in sooner. But there is a cascade of liquidations all the way down to 80,000. After that, there's not really much here below, at least not enough that could potentially move the price. And this lines up with the Elliott Wave analysis here for the second impulse down. It also aligns with the Fib retracements. And again, I'm still bullish into 2026, which is why I have wave 3, the strongest wave, sending us back up to 140,000 before we get a pullback back to around 108,000 to 110,000 before we get the final push, wave 5, to 150 to 152,000 out to the end of the year. Now, this is not perfect on a time basis. This is just kind of illustrating how I think price will move over 2026, but don't try and time this based on time. I'm just doing the Elliott Wave itself analysis. After this wave 5, that's when you can say top is in, ISM has peaked, liquidity is turning downwards, and we are going into a bear market. Go into all cash, wait for the bottoms. I'll be here every week to analyze the price, let you know what I think is going to be the bottom for this next bear market, but we're just not there yet. There's still a lot to go. The amount of bearishness and sentiment currently, we could check the fear and greed index really quick, just out of curiosity. Oh my goodness, we're at 18. 18 on the fear and greed index. Absolute disaster out there in terms of sentiment.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
And I think a push to 84 would absolutely obliterate any remaining bullishness before we send it up to Valhalla and back to 140K, basically 2xing from where we could go. So that's my thesis currently. We'll see if I'm completely batshit crazy and wrong, or if I'm going to nail the bottom here. We'll see. Stick around. I do my show every Friday morning for the Bitcoin Macro War Room. If you did enjoy this video, you know what to do. I'm not even going to ask you for it. I appreciate you sticking it out with me. And as always, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. It's going to be a crazy few weeks, so strap in, keep your pants on, and things are going to get interesting. I'm out for now. I'll see you on Friday. Cheers.